If this station falls, everything fails, Luke Harrison muttered under his breath, the words lost in the hiss of the cooling plasma vents as he adjusted the calibration on the energy core, the glowing readouts flickering beneath his gloved hands, sending soft reflections across the scratched metal walls. Outside, the desert winds carried fine particles of sand and dust over the edge of the collapsed observatory tower, the setting sun casting long violet shadows over the jagged remnants of broken antennas and glass panels. Luke's mind raced, calculating power ratios and stabilizer frequencies while his toolkit clinked against the metal deck. A low hum from the fusion turbines filled the cavernous space, the air thick with the tang of ionized metal, and then a sudden alert flashed across his console, signaling an irregularity in the containment field. A delicate shimmer of light bent and twisted around the edges of the breach. Luke's pulse quickened as he leaned forward, eyes scanning the holographic interface, the temperature gauge spiking with an erratic pulse. His thoughts split between protocol and instinct. A distant whir of a hovering drone reminded him that every second counted. The overhead lights flickered once, twice, and settled into a dim, steady glow, emphasizing the contrast of cold steel and warm plasma. He wiped sweat from his brow, feeling the vibration of the structural supports underfoot, the faint smell of ozone mixing with the dusty air, and in that moment he caught sight of a figure moving with controlled urgency through the broken hallways. The alien queen Selara, her teal skin catching the fading sunlight, her eyes narrowing in recognition of the failing systems, a silent nod passing between them. No words needed. Luke grabbed a portable stabilizer and activated the magnetic tether, the device whirring to life. Emitting a soft blue glow that reflected on Selara's determined face, he directed her to a safer platform as the remaining power conduits hummed under the stress, dust motes floating in the narrow shafts of light that pierced the broken ceiling. Luke's thoughts racing through contingency plans, rerouting circuits, the subtle vibrations signaling microfractures in the deck, all the while maintaining a measured calm, his fingers flying over the control panel as holographic schematics rotated and shifted. Finally, he secured the energy node, the field stabilizing enough to prevent a cascade failure. Selara exhaled, a faint smile crossing her lips, the hint of relief reflected in the deep amber of her eyes. Luke adjusted his headset and muttered, "We're not out yet, but at least we've bought time." The wind outside, picking up again, whistling through the skeletal remains of the observatory, sand glinting like tiny stars in the last light. And as they stood together, side by side on the graded platform, the vast desert stretching beyond them, the hum of the power cores steadying, the distant glow of other stations flickering in the twilight, it became clear that their partnership was more than necessity. A silent understanding forming between human and queen, a promise of mutual trust, and the camera would pull back to capture the sprawling, chaotic beauty of the ruined desert and the gleaming, battered technology, setting the stage for the trials yet to come. Luke Harrison tightened his grip on the stabilizer as he led Queen Selara across the graded platform, the wind from the desert stirring loose sand and carrying the distant echo of collapsing towers, the ambient light from the still active energy cores painting long, fractured shadows over their path. Luke's mind calculating the precise route that would keep them clear of weak structural supports. The hum of power conduits and distant echoes of machinery creating a rhythm that matched his heartbeat. Selara's eyes tracked every movement with measured precision, her posture a mix of caution and trust as she followed his lead, the subtle glimmer of sunlight reflecting off her polished armor panels, highlighting intricate patterns that denoted rank and heritage. Luke adjusted the portable shield to deflect a stray electrical discharge, the device casting a soft azure glow over Selara's face, their eyes meeting briefly in silent acknowledgement of the unspoken reliance between them, the graded floor vibrating slightly beneath their feet as microfractures shifted under the weight. Luke's fingers danced over the control interface on his wrist, sending a signal to stabilize the adjacent energy tower, the hum intensifying as the system responded. Selara leaned slightly forward, observing the adjustments with a scientist's curiosity, her golden irises catching the reflection of blue light. The warm desert sun low in the sky casting an orange hue over the distant mountains and metallic ruins, the horizon dotted with the skeletal remains of observatory spires. Luke's boots clanged softly against the metal as he moved with precision, every step measured, every glance anticipating potential hazards, the air thick with the scent of ionized metal and fine sand. A distant gust rattling the remaining glass and metal framework. Selara reached for a control panel embedded in the platform railing, her hand hovering over the holographic interface. Luke giving a subtle nod, their movements synchronized, the soft chirp of the stabilization drones above blending with the low hum of the fusion turbines. As they rounded a collapsed conduit, Luke paused, consulting the holographic map projected from his wrist, pinpointing the most structurally sound path, the tension in the moment heightened by the oscillating shadows. A gentle whirring indicating a minor surge in the power grid. Luke adjusted the stabilizer's output, Selara stepping in time beside him, the blue glow reflecting on her teal skin, highlighting the delicate ridges along her forearms, the platform beneath them creaking but holding, the wind carrying the faint hum of distant communication relays. Luke's mind calculating the next sequence of movements as they approached the central energy hub, the largest remaining tower ahead bathed in a golden shimmer from the setting sun. Selara's gaze scanning the environment, noting potential points of leverage and support. Luke exhaled softly, feeling the weight of responsibility, their combined presence a testament to resilience and ingenuity. The drone swarms hovering above, providing both visual feedback and minor corrections to structural shifts, the platform groaning subtly under the stress, and as they moved toward the hub, a shared understanding passed between them. A silent promise of continued cooperation and calculated courage in the face of the unstable environment. The desert winds howling around the skeletal remains of the observatory, sand glinting like tiny stars in the low sunlight, framing the duo against the sprawling technological wasteland. A stage set for the trials that would test their ingenuity and trust further. Luke Harrison carefully navigated the narrow catwalk leading to the central energy hub, each step calculated to minimize strain on the weakened structure, the desert winds gusting through fractured panels, carrying with them fine grains of sand that shimmered like dusted gold in the low sunlight. His hands steady as he adjusted the stabilizer output to compensate for a subtle oscillation detected in the core. Queen Selara following close behind, her teal skin glinting against the warm glow of the failing energy nodes, her golden eyes scanning the surrounding towers and collapsed conduits for potential hazards, the soft hum of drones above adding a layer of mechanical rhythm to the scene. Luke's mind working rapidly, rerouting power and stabilizing magnetic fields, the metal beneath their boots vibrating gently in response to the shifting currents. He communicated silently through subtle gestures, and Selara mirrored his movements with precise attention, their actions perfectly synchronized. The distant horizon stretched endlessly, a barren desert punctuated by skeletal remains of observatories and research towers, the wind carrying the faint scent of ozone and hot metal, the hum of power cores mingling with the ambient rustle of the environment. Luke paused momentarily to recalibrate the stabilizer, a soft blue glow reflecting off Selara's angular features, her expression focused and calm despite the chaos surrounding them. The platform creaking subtly beneath their weight, the residual light from the setting sun catching the edges of shattered glass and exposed wiring, creating a kaleidoscope of glimmering reflections across the hub. Luke tapped a sequence into his wrist interface, activating a secondary stabilization system to counteract the minor oscillations. Selara's hand hovered over a holographic panel embedded in the railing, and with a quick nod, she initiated the interface, the projection folding and aligning precisely as designed, the soft light illuminating their faces in perfect clarity. Luke glanced at her, seeing the calculated determination mirrored in her gaze, a silent acknowledgement of trust passing between them. The hum of the energy hub steadying as the secondary systems engaged, the air vibrating gently with the harmonic resonance of stabilized fields, sand drifting through cracks in the platform and catching the golden hue of the sun, their shadows stretching long and intertwined on the grated floor. Luke exhaled slowly, a sense of cautious optimism settling over him as he observed the synchronized systems holding firm, Selara stepping forward with confidence, guiding him through the final approach to the core interface. The wind picking up again, carrying the faint metallic scent of ionized air. The broken structures beyond casting intricate shadows, the sky a gradient of orange and violet as the sun approached the horizon, Luke's eyes scanning the remaining conduits, ensuring the final connections were secure, the faint whir of drones overhead marking time like a metronome. And as they reached the heart of the hub, a sudden calm settled, the stabilization complete, the energy nodes glowing steadily. The distant mountains silhouetted against the dying light, Luke and Selara standing, side by side, their figures framed by the surviving structures, a silent recognition of the teamwork and ingenuity that had brought them this far, the camera pulling back to reveal the full scale of the hub, the desert, and the sprawling remnants of the observatory complex, setting the stage for the next challenge that awaited. The sun dipped lower, painting the desert sky with streaks of amber and deep violet, as Luke Harrison and Queen Selara made their way toward the elevated observation deck, the wind stirring the fine grains of sand into swirling eddies that caught the light like tiny sparks, the remains of shattered towers and twisted metal forming intricate silhouettes against the fading sky. Luke's fingers brushed over the stabilizer controls, ensuring the platform remained steady beneath their feet, while his eyes continuously scanned the horizon for shifting debris. Selara moved with calculated grace beside him, her glowing teal skin reflecting the waning sunlight and casting subtle highlights along the contours of her armor. The low hum of operational drones above providing a soft mechanical counterpoint to the natural sounds of the desert. Luke adjusted a portable light source, the beam cutting through the dust-laden air and illuminating the pathway ahead with a pale, steady glow. Selara's golden eyes followed every movement, noting potential hazards and adjusting her stance to maintain balance on the graded metal surface. The rhythmic vibration of the platform underfoot and the gentle resonance of nearby energy conduits creating a subtle undercurrent to their synchronized steps. Luke activated a diagnostic scan on the observation deck, holographic readouts flickering to life above his wrist, the soft blue projections revealing stress points and minor microfractures in the structure. Selara leaned slightly closer, her hand tracing the floating schematic as she suggested adjustments with precise, deliberate gestures, their collaboration seamless, a silent understanding bridging human ingenuity and alien analytical skill. The air filled with the faint scent of ozone and the metallic tang of the environment, distant echoes of shifting debris and the occasional gust of wind punctuating the stillness. Luke moved toward a control panel embedded in the railing, initiating a sequence to lock down the most unstable sections of the deck, the lights along the platform flickering momentarily before stabilizing. Selara observed with a keen eye, her posture alert yet composed, the interplay of shadows and light on her armor emphasizing both her authority and her attentiveness. The desert beyond stretched endlessly, the skeletal remains of the research towers glinting like jagged jewels in the fading light. Luke's mind running through contingencies and backup plans, ensuring that every potential failure point had a countermeasure in place. Selara mirrored his focus, suggesting subtle recalibrations to the stabilizers that enhanced overall stability. The drones above whirring softly as they monitored the structure's integrity, a gentle vibration running through the deck as the final adjustments took hold. Luke exhaled slowly, feeling a sense of cautious optimism. Selara standing by his side, the golden glint of her eyes catching the last rays of sunlight. The duo framed against the vast desert expanse, their synchronized movements a testament to trust, coordination, and mutual respect, the camera pulling back to reveal the vastness of the landscape, the interplay of technology and natural elements, and the fragile beauty of their precarious perch as twilight deepened, leaving a sense of anticipation for the challenges that still lay ahead. Luke Harrison and Queen Selara paused at the intersection of two graded catwalks, the sun now a deep orange disk sinking toward the horizon, casting elongated shadows across the skeletal towers and broken panels surrounding the observation deck. Luke's hands moved deftly across the portable stabilizer, each adjustment producing a soft hum as the energy field pulsed in harmony with the remaining infrastructure. Selara leaning slightly to observe the holographic readouts, her golden eyes reflecting a combination of calculation and trust. the wind carrying particles of sand that shimmered in the last light, swirling around their feet and creating miniature vortexes in the air. Luke tapped a sequence into his wrist interface, the holographic projection aligning perfectly with the reinforced beams and remaining conduits. The faint vibration of the platform beneath them signaling both stability and the delicate balance of the structure. Selara reached out and touched a secondary console, her fingers moving with precision as she recalibrated the energy distribution to minimize stress on the weakened supports. The soft glow from the interface illuminating her angular features and the subtle ridges along her forearms. Luke adjusted the directional output of the drones above, their rotors slicing through the dusty air, providing an additional layer of stabilization and data feedback. The low-frequency hum of the fusion turbines blending with the natural desert wind and the distant calls of shifting metal as the environment settled into a delicate rhythm. Luke's mind raced through contingency plans for every conceivable shift or failure. Selara mirrored his attentiveness, suggesting minute modifications that enhanced overall system performance. The platform creaking gently under their combined weight, but holding steady. The sprawling desert beyond stretching infinitely, dotted with the remnants of observatory towers that caught the last rays of the sun, casting a pattern of jagged silhouettes across the sand. Luke exhaled slowly, noting the subtle shifts in the energy readings and confirming the secondary stabilizers were holding the structure within safe parameters. Selara's posture remained alert but composed, her eyes scanning the periphery for any sudden changes or irregularities. The dust-laden air shimmering as the last sunlight refracted through it, highlighting the duo against the backdrop of chaotic metal and desert. Luke stepped toward a final control panel, activating a sequence to reroute residual energy and ensure long-term stability. The holographic display folding neatly as the field stabilized, Selara observing intently and providing input for precise calibration. The drones hovering steadily above, their sensors capturing every micro-movement and vibration. The distant mountains bathed in the warm glow of twilight, the wind carrying faint metallic scents and the gentle hum of operational machinery. Luke and Selara exchanging a brief, wordless acknowledgement of the coordinated effort, the energy nodes now steady, the observation deck holding firm against gravity and time, the camera pulling back to frame their figures against the expansive desert and technological ruins, capturing the silent triumph of human ingenuity and alien precision. The stage set for the next phase of their mission and the challenges still to come. The twilight deepened across the desert, casting long, intricate shadows over the fractured towers and the observation deck, where Luke Harrison and Queen Selara stood, the air filled with the subtle hum of the energy stabilizers and the soft whistle of the wind carrying fine particles of sand that danced in the last golden rays of sunlight. Luke's fingers moved nimbly across his portable control interface, recalibrating minor fluctuations in the energy nodes while his eyes continuously scanned the horizon for any signs of structural stress. Selara observed the readouts with focused precision, her teal skin catching the muted glow from the holographic displays, the golden hue of her eyes reflecting both concentration and trust, a shared rhythm forming between them as they synchronized movements to minimize strain on the graded platform. The vibration of the structure beneath their feet blending with the gentle pulse of the stabilization systems. Luke tapped a sequence to redirect residual energy, the soft blue glow illuminating the angular lines of Selara's armor and casting faint reflections on the desert floor below. The wind shifting slightly, lifting swirling sand into miniature spirals that glimmered like floating diamonds in the twilight. Luke's mind racing through the potential ripple effects of each adjustment, while Selara adjusted her stance to maintain balance and keep the sensors aligned. The drones above emitting a soft whir as they hovered, monitoring structural integrity and feeding data to the holographic displays, the ambient mechanical hum merging with the natural sounds of the environment, the distant mountains fading into silhouettes of violet and orange. Luke directing subtle power flow to reinforce the weakest sections of the catwalk, Selara following with her own adjustments, her movements precise and deliberate, their collaboration seamless, an unspoken communication flowing between them as the energy nodes stabilized and minor oscillations dampened. Luke exhaled slowly, the tension easing slightly as the platform settled into a consistent rhythm. Selara casting a glance toward him, a brief nod acknowledging their success and the growing trust that had formed during the precarious task, the air shimmering with the last remnants of sunlight reflecting off exposed metal and glass shards, the desert stretching endlessly beyond the ruined towers, the silhouettes of remaining antennas and fractured spires etched sharply against the deepening sky. Luke's eyes scanned the distant horizon for further complications while maintaining full control over the current systems, Selara's focus unwavering, her presence steadying and guiding him as they prepared for the next phase of their work, the gentle resonance of stabilized energy nodes filling the space with a low, harmonious hum. And as they stood side by side, the wind stirring the dust around them, the soft glow of drones above, and the vast expanse of the desert beyond, a quiet sense of accomplishment settled between them, hinting at the enduring partnership and mutual reliance that would be necessary to navigate the trials still awaiting in the coming darkness. The desert night had settled fully, stars pricking the sky with cold light as Luke Harrison adjusted the stabilizer one last time. The gentle hum of the energy nodes filling the silence between gusts of wind that carried sand in delicate spirals around the observation deck. Queen Selara standing beside him, her teal skin reflecting the pale luminescence of the drones hovering overhead. The graded platform beneath them firm now, but still quivering slightly under the weight of accumulated tension. Luke's fingers dancing across the portable interface, rerouting residual energy to compensate for minor fluctuations in the system, while his eyes scanned every corner of the skeletal towers for shifts or anomalies. Selara leaned forward to peer into the holographic display projected from Luke's wrist, her golden eyes focused, registering every line and node with precise clarity. The wind whistling through the broken antennas and twisted metal framework, the air thick with the scent of ozone and warm metal. Luke activated a secondary stabilizer sequence, the soft blue glow reflecting across the angular edges of Selara's armor and highlighting the delicate ridges of her forearms, her expression calm but alert as she monitored the system alongside him. The drones above emitting a soft whir, their sensors providing live feedback and subtle adjustments to the energy nodes. Luke exhaled slowly, feeling a sense of cautious accomplishment as the readings steadied, Selara tilting her head slightly in acknowledgement, their movements synchronized, a rhythm established through shared trust and necessity. The desert beyond stretching infinitely, silhouettes of distant mountains etched sharply against the inky night sky, the faint glimmer of other observation stations visible in the distance, their lights flickering like distant stars. Luke stepped toward the central hub interface, making minute adjustments to the remaining energy channels, Selara following closely, hands hovering above the console, ready to initiate fine-tuned calibrations, the graded platform creaking gently with each step but holding firm. Luke's mind calculating contingencies for every possible shift or failure, while Selara's gaze remained steady, scanning the environment for subtle anomalies. The soft hum of operational machinery blending with the ambient sounds of the desert night, dust drifting through the beams of light cast by the drones, particles catching the illumination in a delicate sparkle. Luke tapped a final sequence, the holographic display folding neatly as the energy nodes locked into stable resonance. Selara exhaled softly, the faintest smile crossing her lips as the system held steady, their figures framed against the vast expanse of desert and ruined towers, a silent acknowledgement of the teamwork and ingenuity that had guided them through the precarious task, the wind carrying the faint metallic tang of the stabilizers and the hum of the drones overhead, the camera pulling back to capture the full scope of the desert, the observation deck, and the duo standing resilient in the fragile peace of night, a quiet promise of continued vigilance and preparedness for the challenges that awaited them in the coming hours. The desert sky was now a deep indigo, stars beginning to punctuate the darkness as Luke Harrison and Queen Selara stood before the central energy hub, the soft hum of the stabilized nodes blending with the distant whisper of the night wind carrying particles of sand that glittered faintly in the drone light. Luke's hands moved deliberately over the portable interface, rerouting residual energy and checking that all systems maintained equilibrium while his eyes scanned the surrounding structure for any shifts or irregularities. Selara mirrored his attention, her golden eyes reflecting the gentle glow of the holographic displays, her posture steady and poised, the faint outline of distant mountains etched against the night sky. Luke activated a final calibration sequence, the holographic projections folding neatly as the energy nodes aligned perfectly, a subtle resonance filling the air as the system reached optimal balance. Selara leaned slightly closer, her fingers brushing over a secondary interface to fine-tune the energy flow, their synchronized movements demonstrating a seamless cooperation born of necessity and growing trust, the graded platform beneath them vibrating gently under the weight of accumulated tension, the drones above hovering silently, their sensors capturing minute fluctuations and providing continuous feedback to maintain the stability of the hub. Luke exhaled slowly, feeling a cautious sense of accomplishment as the readings held steady. Selara's gaze met his, a brief smile acknowledging the combined effort and the unspoken understanding between them, the soft blue light of the stabilizers reflecting off her teal armor and highlighting the contours of her form in the gentle darkness, the wind carrying the metallic tang of the equipment and the faint hum of distant operational machinery. Luke adjusted the directional output of the energy flow to counteract minor shifts, Selara initiating complementary adjustments in perfect synchronization, the platform creaking subtly but remaining solid, the desert stretching infinitely beyond, the silhouettes of ruined towers and fractured antennas etched sharply against the starry sky, a serene but tense calm settling over the scene. Luke stepping back to survey the hub and the surrounding structures, Selara observing alongside him, both aware of the delicate balance achieved, the drones above marking a gentle rhythm that harmonized with the low hum of the stabilized systems, the air shimmering faintly from residual energy, sand drifting lazily through the illuminated beams, their figures framed against the expansive, quiet desert, the camera pulling back slowly to capture the full scope of the observation deck, the restored energy nodes, and the duo standing resilient in the fragile serenity of night, a moment of silent recognition passing between human and queen as the distant lights of other observation stations blinked faintly on the horizon, signaling both the success of their efforts and the anticipation of challenges yet to come, the soft interplay of light, shadow, and mechanical hum creating a tableau of trust, ingenuity, and preparedness that would guide them through the trials awaiting in the unfolding darkness. The first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon, painting the desert sky in hues of soft pink and pale gold. Luke Harrison and Queen Selara standing atop the observation deck, their figures outlined against the awakening landscape, the stabilized energy hub humming quietly beneath their feet as the drones above hovered in silent formation, casting gentle pools of light that reflected off Selara's teal armor and illuminated the intricate metalwork of the graded platform. Luke's hands rested lightly on the portable interface, his fingers brushing over the controls to confirm that the final calibrations held steady, Selara observing every reading with her golden eyes, a faint smile crossing her face at the precision of the system, the wind carrying fine grains of sand that danced lazily through the beams of light, swirling in miniature vortices that glimmered like scattered gems. Luke glanced across the expanse of the desert, noting the skeletal remains of distant towers and fractured observatories, the soft hum of the stabilizers blending with the natural rhythm of the environment, Selara's presence beside him steadying and grounding, her posture a perfect blend of authority and calm attentiveness. Together they surveyed the surrounding structures, analyzing subtle vibrations and micro-shifts in the metalwork, Luke initiating one final diagnostic sweep, the holographic readouts confirming the integrity of the platform and energy nodes, Selara leaning slightly closer to provide complementary input, their collaboration seamless and wordless, the distant mountains etched sharply against the pastel sky, the desert floor glinting with scattered debris and remnants of past operations. Luke exhaled slowly, a sense of measured accomplishment settling over him, Selara acknowledging his assessment with a subtle nod, their synchronized movements embodying the trust and respect that had developed through shared effort. The drones above tracing the air in gentle arcs, monitoring every nuance of movement and energy flow, the wind whispering softly through fractured metal and broken glass, the scent of warm ozone and fine dust filling the space. Luke and Selara taking a moment to absorb the stillness and quiet triumph of the night that had passed into dawn, the first rays of sunlight illuminating the intricate patterns of the energy hub, the gentle interplay of light and shadow accentuating the textures of the metalwork, the calm desert stretching endlessly beyond, punctuated by the silhouettes of ruined towers, their long shadows stretching across the sand. Luke stepping forward slightly, observing the entire complex with careful scrutiny, Selara beside him providing insight and perspective, the drones maintaining position above, the soft hum of energy nodes now a harmonious backdrop to the subtle movements of the platform. Together they shared a quiet recognition of the ingenuity, diligence, and coordinated effort that had carried them through the previous hours, the camera pulling back slowly to reveal the full scale of the desert, the hub, the remaining towers, and the two figures standing resilient, bathed in the gentle light of dawn, a silent testament to human ingenuity, alien precision, and the enduring partnership that had formed in the precarious balance of technology and environment, leaving the viewer with a sense of anticipation for the next chapter in their unfolding journey.